You're listening to Real Talk Podcast with Steve Harrison, where he'll be talking about current events, finance, God, relationships, lifestyle, and health. So stay tuned, because Steve is going to bring that real talk on Real Talk Podcast.
Welcome to Real Talk. I'm your host, Stephen Harrison, and we have a great show for you today. My guest today is Vicky Mariconde, and today's Vicky's going to be talking about transforming grief into God's gift. Vicky is a woman who always felt inclined to music as a child. She suffered the loss of two beloved husbands and discovered her gift, voice, and transformed her grief through music. Vicky, thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Stephen.
Vicky, tell us about what was your relationship to music as a child?
Well, as a youngster, I sang. My sisters and I sang in church. We came up in church and we always sang. My dad used to sing back in the day with quartets. My mom was in choir. So music has always been a part of our family.
Okay, you think the music fell on you, or it's just a gift now that you're singing today?
I believe that God has anointed me to use my voice to minister in song as well as to encourage others.
Okay, you said you always sang in church and you loved it?
Yes.
Okay, can you go into a little more details with that?
Well, let's see. We started singing as little girls. You know, I was probably 6 when I started singing, and my sisters
That's when it
older.
starts.
Yes, yes. And, you know I used to be so nervous when I was little, as a kid, but as I continued to sing and got older, sang in choirs, it really became a passion. I love to sing. I love music. Music changes the atmosphere.
Yes, it does. Now, you also said that you always had a song, but you couldn't yet verbalize it. Could you explain that?
I wanted to sing. I wanted to actually make my own CD, and Larry, my husband, always encouraged me to do that, but no lyrics would come.
Okay. Now, you suffered a loss with Larry. Can you tell us about your relationship and marriage to Larry as it's passing away?
Well, Larry and I were married in 1993. We had dated for close to 4 years. Neither one of us were saved then, but we got saved together at Living Word Ministries in West Haven, and we got baptized together, and then we were engaged.
Okay, you also said that Larry was naturally into music and poetry. Can you explain that before he passed away?
Yes, Larry loved poetry. He would write poetry as well himself, and he was pretty good. He liked music. He had all the albums from back in the day. Shaka Khan, he did the jazz, Boney James. He just loved music.
Did that help your music career right now?
I don't know if it helped it so much, but it did help me to aspire to just sing and sing my own thing.
Okay. Now, you also said, can you just explain a little more of Larry's passing in 2005? And how did your passion for love and music come after that?
Well, Larry and I really shared a wonderfully blessed marriage. We were married for 12 years, and we were a couple's couple, always together, and happy to be together. Unfortunately, he passed away. He had a heart attack October 5th of 2005, and I found him in the morning. It was so unexpected. It was such a shock to me that my world literally turned upside down. That was the lowest of the lowest of the lowest that I think I could have gone.
Yes.
It's just out of the blue.
Okay. Were you angry at God?
Stephen, there are 5 stages of grief that, it's written about, and anger is one of them, but truly I can say that I never felt angry to this day. So now that's going back 13 years. But I've not felt angry at God because God has been good to me.
Yes.
He blessed me with a
Yes.
wonderful marriage. He is the same God that I went to church and worshiped and praised. And because my life circumstances changed, it didn't change my God and who I knew him to be. Always faithful, always providing. He didn't change. It was my life that changed.
Okay, did you ever feel any depression or any sadness during that time?
Stephen, I have been very down. I have just felt low in spirit, where you just, you couldn't sleep, you didn't feel like eating.
Yes.
The weight was falling off of me because my normal life was so upset and so
Yes.
off balance.
Well, the reason why I asked that, because Christians go through things too, and depression
Absolutely.
hits us, and the world has a way of dealing with it different than we do. God is able to keep you and sustain you, what you're
Absolutely.
going through, and the world commits suicide, and Christians commit suicide too.
absolutely.
Has there ever been a time where you felt like, you know what, maybe I should just check out?
Stephen, never. I can truly say never. I always had hope. I knew what God had done for me in my life, and I trusted him. I think that was the key. I had a firm foundation of faith, that was built upon, and I trusted God. I didn't feel like I wanted to commit suicide. I felt lonely. I felt low in spirit, but I kept my hope in God.
And you've seen God operate, that you kept your hope. You've seen things going on that God was
My God.
carrying you.
My God.
Yes.
I can remember walking through my house one day, and I had mirrors in the living room. And just as I passed by the mirror, I looked and I saw myself, and I just felt like an overwhelming sense that God's got you.
Wow.
And God has never left me. Now, the times that I felt lonely,
Yes.
I was lonely because I missed Larry, I missed what I
Yes.
had. But alone, I knew I was never alone. He's always with me.
Wow, that's a powerful
Yeah.
testimony.
And I think a lot of times the world, how they grieve differently, they're looking for something on the outside, whether it's a drink or a drug or a mate or whatever. But when you look on the inside,
Yes.
and you have the greater one on the
Yes,
inside, the
yes.
comforter, the helper,
Yes.
right in here, then you don't have to look on the outside.
Yes, that's such a powerful testimony. It's bringing chills to me. Now, God has blessed you with another husband. Can you talk about that?
Yes. Larry passed in 2005, and I continued to go to church, and I continued to worship God, and while I was worshiping God, he sent another wonderful, wonderful man. God truly, he blessed me. He sent
Yes.
John, who I call Mr. Macaroni.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's his nickname, or you just gave
That
him
was
that
just a little
name?
pet name for him.
Okay. Can you talk to us a little more about John?
Yeah, John, whereas Larry and I had gotten saved together and had been in church together
And
for many
baptized
years,
together?
baptized together.
Okay.
John was he was a baby Christian when
Okay.
I met him, but I saw him in church, and I noticed that he was faithful. I saw him ushering and all.
Yes.
So I was leaving church one Sunday, and I just happened to say, "How you doing, my brother? I
Yes.
see you're faithful. My
Yes.
name is Vicky." Went on about my business and thought that was just it.
Yes.
But God had another plan, because God knows what we need,
Yes.
and he will send us what we need.
Yes. So how did that connection come with John? Like, you went, hi, my brother, and you left. How did that connection come when y'all just came together?
Yeah, well, I used to walk because I had was lonely at the time.
Yes.
I would walk on the beach, and then one day I saw him walking on the beach.
Okay.
And he saw me, and he made certain he looked at his watch to see what time I was down there.
So he was
so
watching
he'd be
you.
down.
They call it stalking today.
Today they call it
But we're not going to call that stalking. Do church people stalk?
Oh my gosh.
Church people don't stalk.
No,
right?
well, I don't know about all of them.
Well, my wife said I stalked her, so
well,
I guess we
then
do
there you
stalk.
have it.
Okay.
There you have it. Yeah. So, we kept running into each other at the beach, and then he asked my granddaughter and I out to breakfast.
Okay.
And we got married in 2008.
Okay.
And, whereas Larry had always encouraged me to make a CD, John was the one that pushed it. He
Okay.
really pushed me to go on and make the CD, even though, my testimony is on
Yes.
it, and it's about the other man, but
Yes.
he had no issue with that.
What was the gap period between Larry and John before you remarried?
Almost 3 years.
Okay, 3 years.
Almost 3 years.
So that gave you enough time to heal, because some people lose a mate and they get married like in 4 days, 5
Yeah.
days, because they.
Yeah, there's so many emotions.
Yeah, they're so emotional. You need to
you're
find
just
somebody.
vulnerable. You're just raw. You can't really think.
Yes.
Really, you can't think. So we dated. John and I dated for almost a year. We got married in 2008.
Okay.
Yeah, and had a great marriage.
Yes.
And I thank God, that I just was in a place where I could remarry.
Yes.
That I could still
Start all
trust
over again.
God.
And start all over again.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, start all over again.
Yeah.
Now, you said John just met you at the beach. What was that like? Did it take you a time to get to know him, or you just was a little more like, I don't know, because I lost my first husband, or you
Yeah.
just walked your way into it?
Stephen, I just trusted God.
Okay.
Like Larry and I had a long history, even before we got married. John, I didn't know as long, but
Okay.
I knew God.
Yes.
And I know that my Heavenly Father, who knows the trauma that I have just
Yes.
been through,
Yes.
is not going to let some off the street bum
Yes.
walk up into my life
Yes.
and cause me any I didn't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
No one would make me believe that. And I trusted God, and it worked out for me.
Okay. How long was you married to John before he passed away?
John and I were married for 6 years.
Okay, 6
Yeah,
years.
6 years, just
Okay.
about 6 years. Yeah, and we had a great marriage.
Okay.
And just out of the blue, another unexpected, totally unexpected loss. We were doing a 5K walk,
Yes.
and he was walking a little bit ahead of me the whole walk, and I was behind him. But then I kind of started catching up to him,
Yes.
and when I got like shoulder to shoulder to him, I just felt this sense to run. And I'm not a runner,
Yes.
but I just felt this overwhelming sense to run. And so I said to him, babe, I'm going to run. He said, okay, there goes my beautiful bride. And he just waved goodbye. I start running with my cousin, run until I can't run anymore.
Yes.
And then I walk to the finish line. I get to the finish line, and my cell phone is ringing. My girlfriend is calling me, and she's like, sis, can you come back this way? And I'm like, okay, why? She said, just come on back this way. I'm like, okay, why do I need to come back? She said, some of us are just tired, babe. Can you just come back this way? So that was so strange to me, but
Yes.
I said, let me just jump in my car.
Mm-hmm.
Drove back to where we almost started
Yes.
the race, and I see ambulances and
Paramedics and everything.
Yes, and I see a crowd of people. I see somebody on the ground, And I said to my cousin in the car with me, I said, I know that's not my husband.
Yes.
But she knew that it was. My sister had texted her. And I am telling you, Steve, I couldn't even figure out how to put my car into park.
Yes,
it's just
yes.
God's grace that didn't allow me to mow over
Yes.
all those people that were there. And he was on the ground. They were defibrillating him, and the whole cycle, you know what I mean?
Yes.
All the emotions
Starting all
again
over
is like,
yes,
this can't be happening again. You know, so it's like within a 9-year period, I'm widowed twice.
Wow.
You know, but still,
Yes.
I'm here today. That was 2014, and I'm still here because of God's
Yes.
grace. And
Yes.
that's one of my mantras. There is a good God who loves me,
Yes.
so it is well.
Yes. As you talk, I could hear the Spirit of God, the inside that's talking. It's the Spirit of God that's keeping you, because women can't lose one husband without going into a crazy house. And here you lost two, and you're still striving and holding on to the mercy of God.
Had it not been for his grace, I could have easily been one of those women in a loony bin somewhere.
Yes.
Because there are so many emotions. You're so blessed. You've got
Yes.
such a good life, and it's like, wow, how is it turning upside down? But you
Yes.
still trust him.
Yes. Now, you also talked about John encouraged you to sing your own music after he passed away. Now, tell us about, where does the inspiration comes from?
Well, after Larry passed in 2005, the Lord just downloaded lyrics into me. My CD that came out in 2010,
What's the name of that CD?
Still I Know.
Still I Know.
Dot,
After
dot,
two husbands that passed away, still I know.
And at the time, in 2010, just Larry had passed.
Okay.
You know, and on the CD, I have testimony about my life with Larry, and then his passing, and then my meeting and marrying John.
Okay.
But since it was 2010, I need to do another CD
Okay.
to continue my testimony. But you know, our life is a story,
Yes, it is.
and it's not over until we get to the end of the book. So,
Yes.
got to keep turning the pages.
Yes. How are you helping others during their healing process, in your own healing process?
Well, you know, when Larry passed in 2005, I started a Widow's Hope, which was a life group at the church, because, you know, so many things are different in your life. When you've gone through it, you just want to be able to be there for someone. And then I
Yes.
meet John and remarry, but I still will never forget how lonely one can be when you come home and there's no one sitting across the table to
Yes,
eat with.
yes.
You know, there are so many emotions. So I said, well, I'll start this life group and just encourage widows, and we could get together. We would go out to eat. We'd meet at, one of the widows' homes and just share and have fellowship. So it gives you a little time of not being by yourself all the time.
Yes. Was there a different loneliness between Larry and John? Because you was with Larry longer than with John.
I was, but Steve, lonely is lonely.
Okay.
You miss what you had.
Yes.
You know, it didn't matter the length of time that I was married to Larry versus the length of time, because it was actually half the time that I was married to John, 6 years and 12 years with Larry.
Okay.
But you're lonely is
lonely.
still lonely. Yeah.
Okay.
You go out, it seems like, you're at the beach, you're walking, looks like everybody's a couple.
Yes.
Everybody's 2 by 2. It's
Yes.
like, okay, is this Noah's Ark here?
Yes.
And I'm the only one by myself.
Yes, I'm not laughing at just the way you said that. That's funny.
God sustains.
Yes.
He sustains.
Now, how has the church community helped you?
Steve, our church was just instrumental when I lost Larry and when I lost John. I can truly say that people rallied around me. They supported me on every side. Anytime I felt like I was about to just lean and there was just somebody right there, whether it was a phone call or a visit. People came by, they stayed at the house, my children stayed. No one wanted me to be alone, and I thank God for that. But after a period of time, life is busy. People have to get back to their own normal stuff, and you're left with your own feelings. You have time to process things, and that is the thing with grief. You can throw yourself back into busyness, but you're still going to have to process what you have gone through in life. And God is faithful in that he gives you, like in that busyness, the time. You got to plan a funeral, you've got to pull things together. He kind of numbs you. It's like anesthesia. You don't feel the pain, so you can do what you can make the arrangements. But then when the anesthesia wears off, then you realize you have been cut and you're left with a raw, gaping wound.
Okay. Now, would you marry again if God sent someone your way, or you'll be a little more cautious and saying, Lord, I done lost 2 husbands.
Stephen.
What is going on?
Stephen, would I marry again? I would marry again. If God sent the right one, I would marry again. When I look at the fact that I've lost 2 husbands, I don't feel that has anything to do with God. The Bible tells us that it's the thief that comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But I've come that you might have life and have that more abundantly. And I have had abundant life. I have had an abundant life. So I wouldn't be nervous. It would just have to be the right one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that testimony, how you said that, because I hear a lot of people say they haven't even lost a husband. They go through a divorce and said, I ain't doing this no more.
And that is key, because divorce oftentimes is a lot like death. You're accustomed to coming home and eating dinner with someone, you're going to the store. Yes, you're accustomed, and then that is no more. But if you lock yourself into that box, I don't ever want to have to hurt like that again. I don't want to. You could be missing out on a prime opportunity in your life. After Larry passed, had I just said, oh my God, I don't want to ever hurt like that again, then I would have missed 6 more years of a wonderful marriage to John.
That's right.
You know
what
I mean?
You can't stay closed. You got to open up, because you don't know
you
what
have
God's
to
going to give you.
remain open for what God is going to do.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. You also said you have to move forward. I love that quote that you said. But I also want you to tell us about your CD called Love, Loss, and What's Left.
Yeah, well, actually, that is in the works still. It's meant to be a blog, but I'm thinking I might just change it into a Facebook page, like a fan page, and just be able to reach, certain people that can share it or whatever, and just let people know in life we are going to love. In life, we're going to suffer loss, whether it's our health, whether it's our independence, whether it's a loved one.
Yes.
But what's left, that's really what we need to focus on. These are events that have transpired in our lives, but it is not the entire story.
Yes.
So, I want people to be able to focus on what they have left. If God grants us the opportunity to wake up each day, to be able to utilize our gifts, to be able to encourage someone, to be able to help someone.
Yes.
There's plenty left. Yes, we're sad, but we can help somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's promised us that he's a comforter.
And that he is. And I am a living witness that he will comfort you. Time is a healer. God is the ultimate healer. But if I could encourage anyone that might be going through a season of grief right now, it would be to let them know your loved one will always be with you, but this hurt, this pain that you feel when it's so new, it eases. You won't always feel as low as you feel now.
Yes. And I hear people say that they went through a divorce or they lost their loved one. Mm-hmm. And they always talk about it feels like a knot in their stomach or in their chest. Have you ever had that feeling before?
I absolutely have. I think, there's depression, there's denial, part of the stages of grief. And as I said, anger, that's about the only one that I can really say that I've not felt. But I have felt that not try as I might, I couldn't eat. I didn't want to eat. My girlfriend brought me over Ensure Plus because, the weight was coming. Yes. You don't have an appetite. It's like there's no taste buds.
Everything is dead.
Yeah, you're going through the motions. And that's when I say to people, you have to take time to grieve your loss. You can't just try to rush through the process. There is no magic wand. It's a process that you have to go through. Everybody's process is different. How long it takes one is not how long it'll take another. You just have to go through your go through.
Okay, we have lost a couple of men in church, and you're around them. How do you help those women at our church that have lost their husbands now that you are 5 to 10 years into that? When you look at them, do they pull strength from you, or you could just still see that they're just in that baby stage of grief?
I believe that people can look at me and just say, wow, she's still here. She hasn't lost her mind. And they know, being in the church for as many years as I have been, my life was like an open book. People knew Larry, people knew John, but if they can say, well, she still made it, I think it gives them hope.
Okay.
Even the fact that I remarried, I think that gives women hope. And that's what I want them to do, is to never give up.
Okay.
Never throw in the towel, and continue to trust God.
Okay. I just want to talk about, I see you sing at the women's thing at the Harvard Yard sometimes. You've been doing that event, and that's been inspiration to me to see you on stage just singing and letting your gift touch other women. I just love that, to see you up there, and you do it with so much passion, and you put your heart into it.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about that?
Well, I that's what I was talking to our camera guy about. God opens doors. He's the greatest networker that there is. A lot of times you think, well, I need to know people. I need to be on a list. I need to be in a clique. You have to know God.
Yes.
And he will do amazing things for you. And I every time I have the opportunity to minister there, the national anthem, I'm like, God, you're just great.
Yes, he
You're
is.
just
yes,
great.
He is. Yes, he is. Now, before we close, I just want you to tell anyone that's listened to our listeners, our viewers, how can they make it if they didn't lose their husband? Just share with those that have lost their husband, or if they're going through something before we close. What advice would you give them after you've been through so much in your life?
I think I would tell people to continue to trust God. You know, the fact that we've lost a spouse or lost a relationship of any type, it's a part of life. We're going to win some, we're going to lose some. We're going to lose things, but continue to trust God. Know that your life is in His hands, that He knows the end from the beginning. We're walking this piece. I know there is a scene in The Shack, and
yes, I've seen that movie.
Where he's in like the garden, and it looks like everything is overgrown and it looks like chaos.
Yes.
But the perspective that God has from above, when you look down on it, it was a beautiful, beautiful swirling gardens, and that's how He sees our life. He will make everything beautiful in His time, just like the word says in Ecclesiastes. And while we may go through things and suffer losses, just continue to worship Him, continue to pray, continue to help someone. Your platform doesn't have to be behind a mic, behind a camera. You can go to the grocery store, just say hello to someone, smile at someone, and as God would have it, they'll share their whole life with you, and you can encourage them. Just don't give up hoping. Listen to people, love on people, be good to people, and God will bring you through. While you're helping someone else, He's helping you.
Yes. Vicky, Mariconde, I just want to say thank you for coming to the show, sharing your powerful testimony. And I know that transforming grief into God's gift is going to bless someone out there.
I pray it
will. I
will.
appreciate you coming here and just opening up and letting us know how you can make it. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I just want to say thank you for watching. May God continue to bless you, and have a good night.
You can reach out to Steve at realtalk877@gmail.com, Instagram and Facebook at Real Talk with Steve Harrison.